Hi, this is Kim Pinkney and welcome to my channel. This is another quick sketching, drawing, coloring before I head off to work. And I'm just trying to make an effort to be able to capture some of the stuff that I do like during the day, and I'm not able to show it on camera. It's kind of frustrating. I'm too tired to when I come home from work to do anything except for like veg and whatnot. So let me show you what this is the hazards of working with crayon. What I did yesterday. This was 11/14, and it's pretty much like one of the little girls on one of the zodiac animals, but they're on a carousel. So I haven't worked out the story yet, but I think there's a story here. So this is one of the zodiac animals. They're off the carousel, and I've got little girls in their night clothes, and they're all riding the animals. I have another one. I can't remember which book I have it in, but eventually I'll see if I can make each one of the characters doing their thing. But right here is like this fast jackrabbit, and I don't know what they're running from, but they're running. I drew this on the bus first thing in the morning, and it was just a doodle. Started off with a face. I didn't know what to do with the rest of her hair, and then I just started drawing stuff and adding to it. And that was, I think that was pretty much it yesterday. Yeah, and then maybe just a couple doodles that I didn't really like that much. Okay, back to Eliot, and I'll see if we can finish this up. I'm going to be throwing in, and I think this is pretty much dry. My book pretty much dried. So if I'm going to use any more oil, baby oil, I'm probably just going to use it on a blending stump. And I'm going over some of the colors here because it does look a little bit overwhelming. I only wanted the red to kind of be maybe a highlight, but I didn't want it to be too overwhelming, like he dyed his hair green or something like that. So I'm going over some of these colors, and then I'll probably be just doing more transitions with the colored pencils. Okay, just kind of lighting up right there. I was looking at his hands, and they look woefully small. I should have made his hands just a little bigger, but I think about it that they're bent. The fingers are bent, so it kind of gives the impression that they're smaller than they actually are. So I'll let it pass this time, but next time I'm going to be a little bit more careful about my proportions when I combine two different pictures. Okay. One of the other things that I like doing is when I do put colors down, I actually use some of the markers, the Crayola Super Tip markers, on top of colored pencil markers. What it does is it seems to add a little bit more depth to the colors. Except in this case. No, but usually it adds a little bit more depth to the colors. And I usually do it at the same time when it's wet. But now that we're a little dry, the paper's dry, I don't have that same smoothness. But that's okay. We'll just keep working with it. Okay. I think I want to go ahead and hop on the hands. And I'll probably just be adding a little bit more color to the face. Just want it to be a little bit more, you know, have a little bit more oomph to it. I think I'll go ahead and start on the hands right here. Now I was looking for, his magic is going to be a green color. I'm going to be using my crayons. And I'm going to be melting my crayons onto the image. Now, the one thing I like about the crayons is that it goes over everything, especially if they're already melted or wet. Let me see. Let me go ahead and get the crayons that I need. I'm going to use like this. What color is this one? This is a green yellow. This is just green, I believe, forest green. I'm going to use a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to be using white, and then I'm going to do like a either a gray or a black background. Yeah, I think I'll do that. And then I'll have whatever colors, you know, like he's lit up in darkness. Not unlike this one right here. Because it gives a glowing effect. Like it's black and then it merges on into the blue. For him, I'm going to have like maybe a red background, like this right here, where it's black and he's lit up and in kind of like in a cave looking type of thing. And I'm going to have this effect around his hand. The tendrils of white, and it just looks like it's just fire and whatnot like that. Okay, so that's what the effect I'm going to go for this. Alrighty, so I pretty much start off with the black, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a light coloring around the outside. And I'm not pressing hard or anything. I'm just basically just throwing the black around. And as it gets closer to him, that's when the green color will kick in, the green and the yellow. Right here will be red. And then right here is where the green and yellow will start to tendril upwards. And I'm just going basically all the way around. And then I'll be melting the black all into this. One thing that's really good to do is to melt the color first onto, well, not melt the color, but warm up the paper. And that helps the crayon to glide across as well. And this is the technique that I'm going to be using is going to be really good for when you want to cover up things. Like say you put the wrong color on and you like, oh, Superman's supposed to be red and blue, not red and purple or something like that. And you accidentally made maybe Pizarro instead of Superman, you know. And what you can do is you can melt the crayon onto the picture and get like a coverage effect. It's pretty easy. So right here I'm just throwing my crayon around just to give myself a base. And then the closer I get to Eliot is when I start to throw in the other colors. So I've been using this color here. I'm going to use a little bit of this color out here as kind of like a transition from black to red. Because it's like, it shows a bit of cohesiveness. I gotta be careful. It shows a bit of cohesiveness. Like when you have one color in one area, you should have the other color in the other area. I don't know, just to tie the colors together, kind of marry them into the same family here. But it's going to be very subtle. I only have just a little bit on here. And then I'm just going to go red. And the way I do it is I pretty much go into the other color and then start bringing out the other colors, the main color. So it'll be red to a lighter red, I don't want to make it pink because I want it to feel like it's a light. Now with Eliot on the show, I think of him with cool colors. And I'm using warm colors here. And kind of warm to cool colors down here. Yeah, because he's a pretty much a cool character to me. Very cool. At times he seems like he doesn't give a rat's patoot. You know, he's got that attitude, you know, but he's from seeing him in Margot's eyes and in other episodes when they pretty much grow as a character, they got a little, they have really good development in this show with their characters. And I'm going to do something similar around his hands, but I also want to have more of a pattern going up, like it's tendrils of things. So instead of just using my fingers and going like this, why don't I just start using the colors? Okay, I'm gonna warm up the paper a bit. I apologize for the noise. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the crayon onto here, and I'm going to start making tendrils. I'm going to also be using white. I'm melting a little bit of white on here. Let me take some of this paper off to make it a little bit easier. There's a lot of videos where people melt crayons, like they put them all across and just let them melt. And that's an interesting effect. But this is a little bit more controlled melting. Okay. Da da da, let it go. Okay, so I gotta let this cool a little bit, but I'm going to use a little bit around just to bring more tendrils while it's still wet, and it's just kind of letting the heat do what it wants to do. I'm going to do a little bit with the green as well. Oh, let me get the paper off first. Now apparently there's a book out on how to do portraits with crayons. I hope I can find that one day. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit of the green, and I'm going to do into the hand just a little bit, maybe even make it look like it's going around the fingers. And then I'm going to use a blending stub, and I'm going to kind of soften some of the edges. Now it only takes a few seconds for it to melt. Alrighty, and I'm just going to guide a little bit more of the colors together, maybe even blend while they're still warm. And to get that little halo effect, you just go around the area that you want. Now, these colors are very fat. They and you can mold them. Once it cools, you can start scraping some off or blending them in. And everywhere that, let's see, let me just go ahead and throw some more white on. And what the white is going to do is just, and I'm changing the color of his hands. His hands are like white hot. And if I want, I'm going to throw more of his skin tone in there as well. But the most important thing is to have the magic looking like it's coming from his hands. And this is what I usually do, like if I have the wrong color down, is I would melt the crayon onto it, like white. White's a good one. I used white as a base, melt that onto the picture, and then you know, and then I would just do layer my colors on top of each other. Okay. Let's see. Now the marker is a nice little base on the hair here. So we know his hair is brown, but it's got this undertone color of like red and the green. And I could take it further by melting more crayon onto that. And just keep adding layers of color and things like that. And it's great that these colors work together. These the markers, the crayons, and the colored pencils, they all work very well together. So if you get all three, you can get some really great effects. Now I'm going to make this considerably darker around the outside here. So I'm going to warm up the paper. Now when you use the hot air gun, you don't want to keep it on longer than 10 minutes. 10 minutes is max. It'll start to burn itself out if you have it longer. Make sure you have your blending stub nearby. That way you can start blending in your tones together. So I'm going to work in, kind of work in sections a bit. I gotta take the paper off the crayon. Now you just gotta be careful not to get it around your core here, because you don't want to lose the effect that it gives. To save time, I was melting the crayon directly onto the paper. It comes out really thick. So depending on how dark you want this to be, you don't want to melt it too much because it may be too overwhelming. So maybe a few seconds until you start to see it, the crayon look wet, and then bring that out, and then do it again with the other colors as you go. But basically we want him to be lit up. And if you start to lose a little bit of that, throw a little bit of white around the edges, and that will lighten whatever color is just going to come around him. This is kind of like a halo effect. And that just goes around. Now I'm curious if that book that Amaris was telling me about talks about melting crayon to get, you know, to do the portrait. I really would like to check that book out. So I'm going to see if I can find it online, and maybe I can do some lessons on camera. Another thing I've got is how to do, what are they called? How to do cartooning, fantasy cartooning. Oops. Alrighty, I need my blending stub. And then I think what I'll do is use my what are these things called, glitter crayons, and see how that works with this one as well. Now the last time I used the glitter crayons doing this effect, it was kind of subtle. Like I used it on this picture here, but you barely see the glitter. You can, like, it's really faint. But it's not a bad effect, but it's really super faint. So what I'll probably do is use the glitter crayons last, you know, get the base down of the colors that I want. Let me rip this here, because I'm going to start melting this red in here. And I'm just pretty much melting the red until I see it get wet, and just spread it around. And I'm going into the black, and then I'm going to warm them both together and kind of rub them into each other. You could tell when it starts to cool, because you'll start to feel resistance, whereas when it was wet, you'll feel it just glide. And I'll turn the picture back around in a sec. The point is, I don't want to have any of the white of the paper showing. And I'm just going to gradually bring my red closer to the white, but not by much. I'm going to use the crayon itself here to ease itself closer. Right now it's cool, and I'm just really lightly coming closer to Eliot. And I'm going to melt more white because I really want him to glow. And then I'll blend both the red and the white together. Now the cool thing about Crayola is that you don't have to worry about it being too difficult to clean up. It is all water-based here. I'm using water-based products here, and they're non-toxic, which means it's not going to make you sick. Well, I'm sure if you eat it, I'm sure you'll get a tummy ache or something like that, but you don't want to make a meal of it. And I think I'm going to melt a little bit more black just so I can get that coverage over here around the edges here. I want it to go all the way to the edge, and then I'm gradually bringing some of the black into the red, so it's like a deeper, darker red, and then it becomes a lighter red as it gets closer to Eliot and the flames. And then I'm going to do something similar, but in green down below here. Green and yellows. Yellows, instead of it being white, it'll be the yellow, so to give it the yellow glow. But I'm not going to use this yellow. I'm going to use a brighter yellow. And again, I don't want to show any white of the paper in my dark areas. So let me go ahead and melt some more of the black. This is really super fun. I wish I had this when I was a kid. I mean, I've had crayons, don't get me wrong, when I was a kid, but we never got to do this. Usually we would burnish the crayon right on into the paper to get this kind of effect. I mean, you had to color long and you had to color hard to get these colors to do this sort of thing. But I mean, in a few minutes I was able to get this kind of coverage, this kind of blending, and then when it cools down completely, oh, the effect is just gorgeous. And what I'm doing right now is just kind of using circular motions, and I like that it's got a weird pattern, kind of like a texture pattern going on in the red and the black. Okay, I am liking this song. Hold on for a sec. I gotta find out what the name of this song is. Splinter. I like it. It sounds kind of menacing, like a badass is coming up. It's got a lot of tension in it. Like it. Okay. Alright. Now the only place where you see the white of the paper is probably just like right around Eliot. Just right around him. And I'm going to bring that in more with white and red. I'm going to have my red kind of creep into the highlight just a bit, and it gives it more of a glowing effect. The more white I have without it truly blending with the white, and if I have tendrils of white coming up, that just looks like magic coming from him. Okay, so I'm gonna melt a little bit more red to cover up this area here. I still have a little bit of black, a little bit of paper showing on this edge here. Okay, so now like this is like really cooled down. Okay. Yeah, when it's wet, it looks kind of shiny too. Okay, so if you want to kind of protect your image a bit, you'll want to spray it with a spray fixative. Um, and you have to buy those from an art supply store, but I believe you might be able to find some in Walmart in their paint aisle. Because now that they're delving a little bit more into inexpensive art supplies, you might be able to find it there. And what it does is it just protects your paper. You could even throw Mod Podge on here and use that as a protectant. What it does is it'll protect your picture from smearing. It just seals it all into place. If you think that you're going to go back over it, like say you needed to protect it a little bit and you wanted to come back over it later, there's stuff called workable fixative, where you can come back and work on it a little bit later. But yet still protect your work. So I'm going into the red a little bit more because I want it to be a deep dark red, and it just adds a little bit more depth. But I don't want the black to seep in here. This is not black's domain. The black's domain is all around the edge here. This is our darkness, and Eliot's lit up the darkness. Okay, so now I'm going to throw a little bit more color this way. I'm going to use this edge of my blending stump because I'm too lazy to wipe this edge, and I'm going to let this cool. If you see patterns like where you've been rubbing, you can just go in one direction and smooth it all out. If it still doesn't want to smooth, just warm it up a little bit, and you have enough wax on here to smooth it. Okay, I'm going to throw a little bit more red on this side. And if you wanted like this to go over the red, you know, I could just go put red on, and then I just layer it with more of the colors. I just want this to come in a little bit more, just a little closer, just a little, until it just becomes white. Because the whole idea is that I want it to be seamless, where you can't tell where the black and the red begins, because they start to blend in together. If you have a harsh line, you can see that, and it's like, eh. But when it's kind of seamless, like you can't tell where the black ends and the red begins, I think that's a better effect. I think it's a little bit more natural appearing. And I can start easing into a little bit of these and shaping them a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more yellow here, maybe a brighter yellow, and I think I'll use one of the glitter yellows. And I'm probably going to end up coming back around it. Okay, yellow is kind of this greenish color. We'll see how it works. But first, before I hit it, I'm going to use another yellow, because I don't think I have a yellow free. Yeah, I do, right here. Oh yeah. And it's already got the paper ripped off. Okay, so before I'm going to add just a little bit of, now I'll warm up the paper. Okay, I'm warming up the paper in the areas where I want the yellow to go. And I'm just going to give it like a circular motion. And I think even a fluorescent yellow would be awesome in this case. Be very careful of your dust because it will get all over the place, and it may get in and ruin the dark effects. And I'm going to get yellow on the inside of his hands here. I was playing with the idea of giving him gloves, but I'm like, nah, I want him to be closer to the magic. And it just gives it this otherworldly glow. With the yellow mixed with the white. Okay. I'm going to try some of this glitter crayon and see what that looks like. I'm going to wipe off some of the dust. I'm going to be wearing crayon on my way to work. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, it's not coming out as much as I'd like it to, the glitter crayon. So I'm going to melt a little bit of it once I get enough yellow around the outside here. So I'm going to melt some of this yellow. But I really, really want a fluorescent yellow in here. I think that would make it glow a little bit more. Now I'm bringing the glitter crayon into the heated wax and letting the wax kind of melt this crayon to get some of that glitter out. And I want it to be kind of like tendrils. So I'm going to be breaking up a lot of this crayon, so that it'll kind of tendril itself upwards. Kind of do like a swirl pattern to get it to come upwards. That sort of thing. Okay, so I'm going to use maybe another green around the outside, or I'm trying to decide, do I want to do it on the outside or the inside? I think I want to emanate like green. So I'm just going to have like a gentle green around the yellow, just a little, maybe mixed in a little bit. And I'm just pressing down, and I just want some thin swirls here. Let's see, I don't have my green marker out. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to see what this marker will do for me. Effect is really subtle. I'm just going to have it on the inside here. Kind of just show one hand and another here. Now, if you think that the color is not going to come out, just keep rubbing it. It'll come out. It just needs to overpower one color or another. Okay, so this is this hand. I kind of want to throw a little bit of have the green be kind of like a shadow on the fingers. Let's see, so this one here is this, just to give it a little bit more depth. maybe just I'm going to shape some of this. A lot of it looks fat, so I'm going to shape it just a bit. A marker might not be the best thing to shape with, or it might. Let's see if I can get this to come up a little bit. And just try to tease it up a bit. Make some of these a little thinner. Maybe throw a swirl or two in. Okay. Okay, so this one, I think I'll come in a little bit with like a little bit of this tone. And then I'll start to color in the bottom here with the black. And then just kind of have it be black and let the yellow be the thing that like lights up, kind of like how the red is doing its thing. Now if you want more red than black, or more black than, you just bring in more black and just ease it on in. And then I really want some of the colors to show up on his face. So where I see it kind of white, I'm going to throw a little bit of the yellow here, this green here, and it's just pretty much around the bottom here, because it's the light's kind of hitting him like that, and it's kind of lighting up his hair. And I can melt a little bit into his hair, just a little. Okay, so now I'm going to finish it up on the bottom with black. I apologize if earlier in other videos you had a problem seeing. I'm trying to keep an eye out on, because the camera that I have, or the view that I have, may be slightly different than what's on the stream. So I just have to pay attention to both of these and do its thing here. Okay, I need to take some of the paper off. Yeah, crayon can be a really good time saver as far as getting a lot of color down all at once. Let me warm up the paper. Okay. I don't use crayon twistables, pretty much because every time I was using it, it would start to twist back into itself, and it was so annoying. I'm like, I'd rather I'd rather deal with this paper part than have to keep unwinding every few seconds. And it wasn't from it wearing down, it was from it twisting all the way back into itself. Like I'd apply it to the paper and it just twists right back up. It could have been maybe the set that I had was bad, and maybe I should give it another chance, but that might be a future thing. See, I don't want too much of the stuff to melt into the picture. And I saw a few videos where people were using the signature blendables, and when they opened it up and showed, like I was watching a few videos, they liked it at first, and then they turned on it. It's like they liked the coverage, things like that, but it wasn't a big variety. And in that case, I would end up using them with other products. I hate that there's a lack of a brown in some of the crayon products. Like when I did the t-shirt, it didn't have any brown. So I had to try to make brown, which is very awkward and annoying. And, you know, I had to mix different colors together to get brown. And I think in other sets they had brown, but for some reason they took it out. So Crayola, if you're watching or listening or anything like that, please, please, please add brown to some of your things here. You know, things that you think we need, we don't. So ask somebody, gosh darn it. But right now, Crayola is one of my most prevalent art supplies because it's so inexpensive to buy. They're portable. I could take them with me, you know, when I want to. And if it breaks or it you know, I wear it out, it's no big deal because it's easy to replace. I can go anywhere and get crayons. Dollar stores, just anywhere. Heck, some restaurants have crayons. So, and I'm really digging the effect here. So let me go ahead and add more yellow. I'm going to use this darker yellow as a transition. And then maybe while it's still wet, throw some of these tendrils up. Shape it. Okay, and then just kind of ease into it. So it's not just like it leaves off black. And I'm going to use some of the colors in other areas on his face. Beware, beware. Okay. And this adds a little bit more cohesion to it too. Okay. And now I'm going to do a little bit of yellow, and I'm almost done. I'm pretty much done. The rest of it will just be shaping. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the black in just a little bit more because I really want just this to light him up. And I might even come in on this white here. So what I'm doing is I'm basically throwing in some of the shadow into his outfit, on his arms, his shoulders just a bit, and coming into the red a little bit more. You know, it's okay if a little bit of the yellow shows through where the black is doing a transition. And it doesn't hurt to throw a little bit more yellow on there too if it gets a little bit too harsh. Again, I like it when you can't tell where the colors begin and end. And I'm going to use a little bit of this to shape some of the swirls. More like when it comes away from, and some of it kind of looks like it's breaking off from each other. It's not a bad thing. And while it's still wet, or while it's still melted, and I'm just going to throw a little bit more until I can't blend upwards anymore. Even come in a little bit more around here. And I'm just trying to make sure that there's no white of the paper showing. Okay. And just come in a little bit. And then we'll play with his hair a little bit because I want it to be more brown than the other colors. I'm going to use a little bit of black in some places. And I'll just come back around with some brown. So I really want the red and the green to be a little bit more subtle. And then I can also throw in some white or something like that in there as highlights and stuff. And the way I do that is I pretty much just get the white to where it's melting. You can see it, you know, wet, but not enough to drip. And just gradually throw in where I think the highlights might be. And then around the edges here, I'm just going to try to bring in a little bit of the other colors. The white's going to diffuse it into the area around Eliot here. And I'm going to kind of blend in his edges with the white here. So not only does it seem like the magic's coming from his head, but also from his hands and stuff. Now I can also bring in the red even more, so it just centers more around him. The more that you bring it in, the more this becomes the central. And then what I'd like to do is add more color to his face, a little bit more there. Let's see, it's 6:12. I have a few more minutes, and then I have to go. Okay, I think I want to add a little bit more brown to his face. In a sense, he kind of looks a little washed out, so let me bring it closer so we can see it. This shadow should probably have a little bit of a yellow around the edges here, just to give it a little bit more reason to have that crest. Let me melt a little bit of this. Don't want it to drip. Okay. Just want to make his cheekbone look a little, oh, just rubbed it off. Sometimes in this case I would use white and then just layer my color on there. But this is not that bad. It's subtle enough so that you can see the yellow. There it goes. Just to make it a little bit more cohesive. And so like the yellow's casting some lights down here up to about this point, and maybe a little bit reflecting up in his hair. In his ear. And I'm having a little bit be into the white. Just to give it a little bit more cohesion going upwards. Alrighty. And maybe a little in his eye, just a little. I need to sharpen this, but sharpener's in my bag. Right where it should be, right? Okay. Okay, and just throwing a little bit more. And it's like very subtle hint of the yellow. There we go. Very subtle. All right. Okay. So basically what I would do from here is just add maybe a little bit more tones to give it movement of tone in his face, because it looks kind of washed out on the screen. Let me see if I take down some of my light and you can see pretty much what I'm seeing. There we go. But this is more of what he looks like. And I just probably want to make, you know, enrich it just a smidge so that his face is a little bit more Eliot-like. Lovely. Let's see. You know, let me see. I gotta find my source image for Eliot. Alrighty, so I'm about winding this down. So if you like what you see and would like to see more, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would do, or what what you'd like to see, or like if you would like to see more t-shirt drawings, t-shirt colorings, because I would have loved to put Eliot on a shirt. I'd wear that mug all over the place. Yeah, he is one of my favorites. Quentin's cool. I just like all the characters, but I have a soft spot for this one. I love his character arcs and stuff. It's a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, so just like and subscribe. One of the other things that I was playing with, the idea of adding runes in, like, let's see, maybe in glitter. So, I don't know how it would turn out. Let's see. This doesn't work. Ooh, I can use my blue for once. Let's see. And maybe I'll save that for another video, because if I add anything right now, it'll probably just stick. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. I gotta get ready and run off to work. I'll probably add like a little bit more to it, but basically this is what I've got. This is my Eliot, and again, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. And I'll bring it up close so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to bring it out a bit. There we go. And that's Eliot. Again, thank you for watching. And maybe the next one will be more interesting. Maybe I'll do Static Shock next. Okay? Have a great one. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.